Is the Quran protected by Allah and preserved completely, entirely and perfectly? Yes, absolutely. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, and this is what we experience, and this is the fact and the reality which we can confirm without the least doubt. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, إِنَّا نَحْنُ نَزَّلْنَا الذِّكْرَ وَإِنَّا لَهُ لَحَافِظُونَ Surah Al-Hijr. Most certainly it is us who send down the revelation, al-dhikr, the Quran, al-wahi, and most certainly we shall preserve it. Preserve it from alteration, from deletion, from abrogation, from a change. The Quran would last until the end of time. The Quran will be also recited in paradise. Since Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was the seal of the prophethood, and he was the last messenger to mankind and to the jinn, there will not be any prophet or messenger after him. There will not be any wahi after him. So the Quran is the most perfect word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. إنه لقرآن كريم في كتاب مكنون لا يمسه إلا المطهرون تنزيل من رب العالمين. This glorious Quran is the miracle of all miracles, because it is the everlasting miracle. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, yeah, it is us, because we, the royal we send down the Quran and we shall preserve it. This is not just a piece of information, that's a challenge. Because throughout history, since the Quran has been revealed, people have accused Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam of making up the Quran, of fabricating the Quran. أَمْ يَقُولُونَ افترى. They said he made it up, he is a poet, even though he lived with them for 40 years and they know that he's illiterate. You see, when illiteracy becomes a praiseworthy trait, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala kept him this way so that people cannot say that he made it up. He is not educated in reading and writing, but Allah educated him. And He revealed unto him the most glorious word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Quran. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, well, if you claim that he made it up, fatu, why don't you bring with 10 surah that fabricated like it? Why don't you fabricate 10 chapters of the Quran like it? They failed. Then the challenge was even made easier. Bring any surah. It doesn't have to be the longest surah, any surah of the Quran like it. And they failed as well. Because this is not the word of a human being, nor an angel. This is the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even though it was their language, which they mastered, but they failed to bring anything similar to the Quran. Nowadays, if you want to know whether the Quran is really preserved perfectly or not, look around. Go to any bookstore all over the world. Go to Barnes and Noble, go to any book fair here and there in China, in Russia, in Egypt, and ask for a copy of the Quran. Look at the number of the verses, the names of the surahs, and the ayat. They're identical. How come? Because it's only one copy, one version, one Quran. There would not be a second Quran ever. There has been a tremendous effort put together in order to alter, fabricate, or make anything similar to the Quran, or change the Quran. And they were all failure. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who is protecting the Quran by Himself. Verses, of course, you have tons of copies of the Bible and other books, to the extent you can't tell which phrase, which verse is right and which verse has been written by a human being, whether a priest or a wise man, or it doesn't matter. But by the end, we can tell which word is the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in these books. And if we get all the so-called holy books on earth, and we bring the Quran, all the copies of these books, soft and hard copies, and we burn them, then we throw the ashes in a windy day in the sea, which book can be collected overnight? Only the Quran, because it is memorized and maintained by the hearts of tens of millions of Muslims, from very young to very old. That is the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So no doubt that it has been preserved, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah Al-Hijr.